When I was asked to talk about Mandela gender equality, I thought one needs to reflect on this because it's not, I think, self-explanatory what Mandela has stood for in relation to women. And the reason for that is that the struggle that Mandela fought for liberation was liberation from racial oppression. And if we look at the history of the ANC at that time, the gender struggle was always subordinate to the racial struggle, even though we cannot sort of dissect our identities, being first black and then a woman, or first a woman and then black or white, that we call intersectionality. Those things make up our identities, but the racial struggle, or the struggle against racial oppression, was the most important struggle during the time of the liberation struggle up to 1994. But this doesn't mean that Mandela was blind to gender equality. But what was important for Mandela is that he did not necessarily have to do the work, but he could trust the people, the women and some men at that time, to do the work and to create the conditions for gender equality. And he didn't interfere. I think this is the other important thing, that his trust meant that he did not have to interfere with the work that was going on. And it was in those first 5 years that we made over 30 pieces of legislation. We wrote more than 30 acts that had directly some impact on the creation of gender equality. So that was a period under his leadership that was very important for the creation of gender equality. So we need to have a vision, we need to have an understanding of what a gender equal society would look like. If we kept ourselves bound to the roles of women and how we interpret those roles, we cannot envision anything beyond that. So we have to think outside the box. And I think what makes the fight for gender equality more difficult, in a sense, than the fight for racial equality, is that there was solidarity among race groups, but there's not solidarity among men and women. I always say we sleep with the enemy, so it's very difficult to fight with the ones we love, right? If we apply the same principles that Mandela did to the liberation struggle, the struggle to free us from racialism, racial discrimination, racism, and to move towards a democracy, we can transfer that onto a struggle for gender equality, and you can apply all those principles. So in a sense, he has created for us a framework for the struggle against all types of inequality.
I came to Stellenbosch simply because I was offered a bursary, and my mom being a single parent, this was our best option. And the first day, I just heard Afrikaans, and I freaked out because I was like, yes, I'm used to environments where, yes, you can count how many black people there are in the classroom, but I'm not used to environments where there's this complete difference in culture and heritage. And I said to her, I need to go to UCT. I can't be in an all-girls race with many traditional views and beliefs. I can't be here. And she said, Farai, you need to learn to understand people. You can't judge people. You can't just want to tolerate them. And that was a turning point. And my roommate, being the most Afrikaans person I'd ever met in my life, not speaking English at all, and the fact that she immediately took to understanding me meant so much. And I feel that if society really has that response towards each other, then we can really progress in a great case.
But I think for me, it's the issue of consciousness raising. And that is very often taking people out of comfort zones. It doesn't mean you hate people, but you have to create conditions where people have to think about things. You know, liberal feminism, which is what most governments use in our own government, is that you give women equal opportunities or give black people equal opportunities, and all of a sudden we're all equal. So we use sameness as the measurement. While if you look at radical feminism, the argument is you use difference because we are different, and therefore we need to create different type of solutions, and the body then becomes central. Why is it that when a woman gets pregnant, she is discriminated against, right? We now have legislation that prevents that, but in the past, many companies didn't give maternity leave. So women had to face this choice to resign. What man ever has to face that choice when they because couples become pregnant? So it's using difference as a measure and then creating solutions that fit the difference. The legislation and the constitution is far ahead of the population. And that can only change through consciousness raising and education and so on. And that's why I think we need to do more on the university level. Why do women change their last names when they get married? Because they become the property of someone. It's not property in the real sense, but that's how it's implemented. So, and if you say that to men, they think you're crazy. But that is how it works. So it is this invisible privilege that is being enforced by women as well. Women are also keeping patriarchy intact. Is the sensitivity towards choices. And that's why, for example, we've called the legislation that made abortion legal the Choice of Termination of Pregnancy Act, which means all it does is it gives women a choice. And this is what feminism is about, is that you should open spaces for women to have choices. And that's why I say all feminism is inclusive, because it is about choice in the end. But I think it becomes very complicated when we talk about culture. So is wearing a burqa culture or is it religion, right? So, and the headscarf, the same thing. And a lot of it is also political. So, but for me, it's about the sensitivity towards women, other women's or other people's culture, right? So we need to ask, what is the meaning of the burqa for you? And we need to be sensitive towards that.
Well,